Good morning, everybody. My name is Megan Callahan, and I am the director of Secret Soldiers, Heroines in Disguise, which is written by Wendy Lament. And she's a playwright who lives in Massachusetts who's actually visiting us right now. So this is a very exciting weekend. We're actually opening our play to the public today. And we're joined this morning by Jayson Clark, who is a local lighting designer in Buffalo. He designs the gorgeous lights that you will see at varying plays throughout town. And he also is somebody who knows a whole lot about the Civil War. And Secret Soldiers, Heroines in Disguise is about the Civil War. So we were going to have a chat since this play is for ages 8 and up, that includes our younger set. So Jay, do you want to just take a second to introduce yourself and talk just a little bit about the Civil War for our younger kids starting in 4th and 5th grade and up who will be coming to see this play with their families?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Jayson Clark, just like Megan said, and I am a lighting designer for theater in Buffalo. But I also am super interested in the Civil War, which, as Megan said, is what this play is about. And I actually started getting really interested in learning about this conflict when I was probably about your age. I learned about it in school, in my history class, and I just really thought it was very, very interesting, and I was wanted to learn more about it. So from the time I was about 9, 10 years old, I started learning and reading books and watching TV shows and documentaries about it. And that's continued all the way up until now when I've grown up, and I have learned a whole lot in that time. And I really loved visiting places with my family. Um, there is a town in Pennsylvania called Gettysburg, which was the site of a conflict in the Civil War, and it's pretty close to us. It's about 5, 6 hours drive from here in Buffalo, and I would go visit that place with my family, and I just really learned so much going to visit those sites and reading and learning, and it has made me understand a whole lot about uh, the world and America itself by studying the Civil War.
Yeah, so the United States of America had this time where they were not united. And we had a very scary and deadly war where a lot of people lost their lives, lost loved ones, either to the war or to disease. So we've just gone through a couple years of COVID-19, this pandemic. And so there are a lot of things from the time of the Civil War that we can relate to now in our modern times. And one of those things is continuing to make sure that all people are treated fairly, that there's equality, and making sure that human rights are centered. These are some of the things that were at the center of that conflict. So Jay, do you want to talk a little bit about what first intrigued you when you were learning about the Civil War and some of the things that would be appropriate for our late elementary and middle school audiences to hear about this subject?
Yeah, absolutely. I was very interested in the idea of what made this war happen. And I have always believed that we are all people. And one of the, as you said, one of the things that kind of made this war happen is the thought that some people weren't as good as other people. And now we think that's kind of crazy, right? But now, back in that time, that wasn't such a crazy idea. And that's really what started this war, was the idea of all people should be equal and should be treated as people. And it was really important for me to learn all I could about that idea, because that's something I truly and strongly believe in. And that is what made me so interested in the Civil War, and why it started and why it happened, and how it ended. And there's good news, because after the Civil War happened, everyone was now on the same page of recognizing that people are people. And it doesn't matter that you might look a little different or talk a little different. It doesn't matter. We're all just people. And that is the thing that sticks with me after learning about this now for 25 years. I've been learning about the Civil War for like 25 years. And that's the thing that always still sticks with me and makes me really happy and makes me so excited to talk to people about it, is because it's such an important idea to know.
Yes. And so in this play, which is about the women who disguised themselves as men and fought in the Civil War, which is something that, Jay, when you were learning about this when you were 9 years old, I'm sure that wasn't coming up in history class.
No.
So this is
it does
something that
not.
I'm just learning more about, and I'm a grown-up. And so that's one of the reasons that Wendy Lement wrote this play, is she wanted to make sure that the stories of these women were told, because this is a very real part of history. We have, as Jay was sharing the data, that an estimate of records of about 500 to 700 women who fought, but we think that it was probably thousands, because we don't have as much data and they didn't have the record keeping like we have today. And so this play features both female soldiers who are disguised as men, as well as a soldier named Sergeant Joseph Cassell, who is an escaped enslaved person who ended up joining the Union Army, which was a very real thing and a part of history as well. So enslavement is a very sad and awful part of United States history, and something very important that we have to talk about and learn about and continue to heal from. And that was central to this war, the Civil War. And so when people were able to escape, like you probably have heard of Harriet Tubman in class. Harriet Tubman makes a cameo in our play, and she helps Joseph Cassell escape from the South. And then he ends up joining the Union Army, meeting Sarah Rosetta Wakeman, who is disguised as Private Lyons Wakeman. And Sarah Rosetta Wakeman is someone who was from New York State. Her family had a farm. And that's something that Jay could talk a little bit about, is that when we think today about the military and we think about the armed services, you might have an idea of people who go into that and might become a soldier. They enlist for a certain number of years or for their lives. And one of the things Jay was sharing is that it was ordinary folks who signed up to fight in the war, who had had no military training at all. Do you want to say a little bit about that, Jay?
Yeah, absolutely. When the war started, there wasn't a lot of soldiers in the army. So what happened was a lot of ordinary people, farmers and tradespeople who made things, saddle makers for horses and blacksmiths who made iron pieces. That was like their normal job. But then when this war started, they stood up for what they believed in and they joined the army to fight in this war. And it was just ordinary people, just like me, just like you, Megan. We were just normal people who didn't really know a whole lot about it. And it was a lot of people. It was a lot of people that joined the armies, and they stood up for what they believed in.
Yes. And so we're really excited because when you come to see this play, you get to be involved. So there's a discussion at the end of the play, and you get to stand up and pretend to be a doctor, a medical officer at the beginning of the play, and then again at the end of the play. So we'll need you to put on your listening ears and really watch and listen carefully, because we're going to need your help in deciding an important piece of the play at the end and having a big discussion about it. So this is just a message that you may see in the play. Loretta Velasquez, who was a descendant of Diego Velasquez, Harriet Tubman, everyone in the play are real historical figures that you can continue to learn more about if you're interested in it, just like Jay was. We have different things when we're in school that we think, oh, that's really interesting and I want to learn more. And you can talk to your mom or your dad or your grandma, caregivers, and they can take you to the library or help look up things online, and you can start to learn more about this. And we have an educational packet that is on our website that has information information about this specific play. Like one of the facts I think is really cool is in one of the scenes, Sarah Rosetta Wakeman is approached by an army recruiter who thinks that she is a man, because back in the time of the Civil War, if you were wearing pants, people assumed that you were a boy or a man, because otherwise, and you'll see some of this, women wore hoop skirts and big skirts all the time. So if you were dressed as a man, people would just assume that you were a man, which is very different than today. And so this recruiter offers her $152 bonus for signing up. And so that might sound like a lot of money to you anyway when you're 9 years old, but $152 converted to today is worth $4,000. So that's a really big bonus. So they were working hard to try to get more people to get involved in the war and to, again, make sure that human rights were cared for and centered at this war. So we're excited to have you come and hear your thoughts. Jay, do you have any other closing thoughts or anything that you want to share? Do you want to say a little bit about when you came in with an actual rifle? And in the play, we're not using any real rifles. We're using some sticks and we're pretending. But Jay came in with us and he helped us use our imaginations and help the actors so that they would be authentic to how the weapons were handled at that time. Do you want to say just a little bit about that?
Yeah. So part of what I do now is I collect pieces from the actual time period of the Civil War. And the reason I do that is so that I can teach other people about it and show them stuff that was actually in that time period. And like the rifle that they used, it's really heavy and really big, and they're not easy to carry. So it was really fun for me to be able to bring that in and help the actors understand what it was like to be a soldier during that time.
Yes, carrying lots of weight. The rifle was 15 pounds. Your rucksack, you said, was 50 pounds. So that's a lot. That's basically carrying you around all day. Those of you who are listening. Yeah. So we are excited. If you see this video and you want to comment with your parents with some questions, we'll do our best to answer, but we would love to hear your feedback and we would love to see you at the show. And thank you so much, Jay, for joining us today.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Come see our show. It runs until March 26th at the Allendale Theater at Theater of Youth.